Chapter 2235 Vector Manipulation. Calm down, you idiot. This thing is harmless to us, fool. Professor Da Vinci slapped Brian hard, forcing him to calm down. Brian also immediately realized that this purple light would not threaten its safety, and he breathed a sigh of relief. Professor Da Vinci explained, "This light is called the purple eclipse ray. It's a special light I prepared specifically for the Wulwan people after dissecting them. It's even more lethal than ordinary ultraviolet rays. But I used this light on her just now to test the characteristics of her ability. None can be used for attack, but it's unclear whether her defensive methods are also none. But now it seems that her none has a very special property. I can't confirm whether she can deflect attacks or reflect light. This must be made clear, because it is crucial to whether we can defeat her." Brian also narrowed his eyes like Da Vinci. "Oh, really? That makes perfect sense, Da Vinci. So, what should we do?" "It's very simple." Da Vinci grabbed Brian by the back of the neck, then adjusted the gun in his hand and shot at Bing Li Huan again. But this time, what was shot out was no longer a purple eclipse ray, but a powerful high-energy particle ray. The rich and powerful rays, wrapped in many high-speed moving particles, can instantly penetrate the gaps between cells and cause enormous damage to organisms. When Bing Li Huan discovered the attack coming, she didn't hesitate at all, nor did she make any unnecessary movements. She just fixed her eyes. Boom! The attack was only halfway through when she bounced it back intact. Brian was stunned for a moment, and the next moment he was hit hard by the bullet. After being hit by this attack, Brian and Da Vinci flew backwards a long distance. "I'm going to file a complaint with the World Federation. This is dog abuse. Where are human rights?" Da Vinci said coldly, "You should say dog rights." "That's not important. You're using me as a shield?" "Oh, damn. I know what you're going to do. You're going to experiment with her abilities using different attacks, right? God, be a human being. This is too cruel of me." Brian angrily accused Professor Da Vinci of his crimes. "Hey, calm down. We've already issued a military order. We have to get rid of this damn guy. Do you want to go back and make a fool of yourself?" Professor Da Vinci stared at Brian. "Do you want safety or face?" Brian said sincerely, "I want to go home." "Sorry, I don't have that option." Professor Da Vinci ignored the stupid dog's insults. As Brian's creator, he knew too well how strong the dog's defense was. They had done tests before, and Brian's tail's whipping ability alone was enough to kill a bishop-level enhanced mutant. For quite a long time, our Professor Da Vinci had to install heavy armor on his legs every day to prevent his legs from being broken. It's just too lazy and afraid of pain. But during the war, Leonardo da Vinci would not indulge it. Now it seems that it's not just the light that's being bounced back, but also the energy body's attacks. This isn't something that can be done with simple telekinesis. I have to test more things next, Professor Da Vinci said, looking at Brian again. All the hair on Brian's body stood up. He sensed something was wrong. "What are you going to do to me?" "Nothing. Just a little experiment." Professor Da Vinci chuckled coldly. Bing Li Huan looked at the man and the dog flying far away in the air and frowned slightly. Although her abilities were powerful, she had no way of killing a bishop-level alien if the opponent was unwilling to fight. High-level mutants are difficult to kill, unless they have the advantage of speed like Zhang Yi, making it impossible for the opponent to escape. Brian can use the method of creating a weightless field to give himself super acceleration, which makes it difficult to chase him. But Bing Li Huan didn't chase after him. "It doesn't matter if you cause massacres in the city. I only need to protect the military and the palace." Bing Li Huan's train of thought is very clear. These two places are the most important nowadays and are the cornerstones that keep the empire from collapsing. As for other places, even if they have fallen, those problems can be easily solved as long as Marshal Zhenglu returns. If people die, then let the survivors have more lives. If a building is destroyed, rebuild it. Anyway, this kind of thing is not the first time it has happened in the history of the Wulwan Empire. But soon, she found that the other party did not run away, but rushed towards her. In the sky, a black shadow broke through the air, as fast as a hypersonic fighter. Professor Da Vinci rode on Brian's back and rushed straight towards Bingley Huan, like a human cannonball. Haha, go ahead, Brian. Next, I want to see if she can bounce back physical attacks. Professor Da Vinci held a gun in his hand, with a look of crazy pleasure in his eyes. He really liked this feeling of risking his life, which was much happier than staying in the laboratory in a lifeless state. Bingley Huan raised her head, raised her hands again, and concentrated her mind. Mumbling. The mental power that could shatter everything exploded with a loud bang. The shattered mental power was like shattering the glass all over the sky, invisible and colorless, heading straight for Brian and Professor Da Vinci. Brian. There was no expression on its dog face at this time, and it had given up on being a shield. Da Vinci laughed loudly, raised his gun, and shot at Bingley Huan. This time, the light emitted from the muzzle changed and turned into another kind of high-energy ray. But there was no surprise, it still bounced back. Leonardo da Vinci stared at the path where the high-energy rays bounced back and had some vague guesses in his mind. Brian's speed was so fast that he arrived near Bingley Huan in the blink of an eye. Bingley Huan's eyes narrowed. After seeing Brian's body, she guessed that the other party was planning to engage in close combat. But fighting hand-to-hand with a psychic user is simply ridiculous. Of course, she wouldn't give Brian such a chance. Brian raised his hand slightly and suddenly felt as if his body was being pulled by a rope, shifting uncontrollably to the side. It was still flying along the previous path and speed. It felt like the flight path was a straight line, but its eyes told it otherwise. This feels so strange. Can she do magic? Blaine yelled.
No.
She can change the direction of the vector. Professor Da Vinci said coldly. Chapter 2236 Red Labrador. Professor Da Vinci had already seen the clues at this time. If they only used telekinesis to resist, then both Brian and he would be able to clearly feel that their bodies were affected by external forces. But now, they feel that their actions have not changed at all, as if they themselves want to change the trajectory of their actions. This means that the opponent's true ability is actually to change the vector within a certain area centered on itself. Even the purple eclipse light shot out by Professor Leonardo da Vinci can be reflected back by reversing the vector direction. Professor Da Vinci was right. Bingley Huan's true ability was called arrow reversal. No attack would have any effect on her, as all of them would be distorted in their vector direction, or even rebounded towards the caster himself. Brian continued to fly at super high speed and asked, "Doesn't that mean any attack will be ineffective against her?" Professor Da Vinci turned around and looked at Bingley Huan, narrowing his eyes and saying, "No, there are no perfect people with special abilities in this world. The more powerful an ability appears, the more fatal its flaws are. Brian, try her again." Brian? Me? Professor Da Vinci didn't say anything, but just looked at him. The man and the dog looked at each other in silence. Professor Da Vinci's meaning was very clear. If you don't go, do you want me to go? All right. Brian was also helpless at this time. He changed the gravity of the area around him in time to slow down his speed. Bingley Huan looked at the man and the dog with a serious gaze, and also felt a little pressure. The opponent's defense and speed were too amazing. Her mumbling could not tear his body apart, so it was difficult to kill him. If only we could find a way to kill it with its own power. Bingley Huan raised her hands, and two invisible mental storms spun wildly in her palms, ready to attack Brian and Professor Da Vinci at any time. Brian thought for a long time and finally decided to fight back again. But this time, even at a great distance, its huge nose wrinkled, and the kind puppy's eyes became serious and focused. Ha! It raised one of its paws and leaped off like Superman. Bingley Huan raised his hand, ready to attack using the power of his whispering thoughts. However, when the distance between the two was still several kilometers, Brian was the first to activate his ability. Super heavy pressure. With Bingley Huan as the center, the gravity instantly increased tens of thousands of times. Boom! The entire area originally had many tall and luxurious buildings, as well as some newly created ruins. But in an instant, The steel bars, cement, and concrete were all flattened on the ground as if they were hit by a sledgehammer. The military headquarters also sank heavily into the ground. With the outer protective device, the people inside might not die so easily, but they were in great pain at the moment and were almost crushed to death by their own weight. Bing Lihuan's body movements also slowed down for a moment, as if a heavy object was dragging her body down. However, as she increased her telekinetic output and strengthened the telekinetic barrier surrounding her body, she gradually offset the powerful pressure. My gravity doesn't seem to work on her. What should I do? Brian said to Professor Da Vinci with a helpless look on his face. No, it's already working. Professor Da Vinci suddenly smiled with a sinister expression on his face, just like the evil villain in the story. Didn't you see that when you suddenly used super heavy pressure just now, her body tended to fall? Yeah, but it only took less than a second before she resolved it. So what? Professor Da Vinci said, it means her reaction speed is not that fast. Just as it's the same with counteracting your own gravity, it's also the same with dealing with attacks from other forces. Controlling vectors is the domain of the gods. If a mortal attempts to meddle, they will likely suffer the consequences. He suddenly stretched out his left index finger and poked his temple as if shooting. The key to controlling this power is the brain's computing power. If the calculation goes wrong, it will be disastrous. Brian responded to Professor Da Vinci's words with a dead look in his eyes. Many times you think I should understand you. But in fact, I don't understand what you are saying. Professor Da Vinci said viciously, you don't need to understand.
You just need to do as I say.
Now, let her experience the feeling of gravity imbalance. Continue to disrupt the gravity field around her, and let me see how fast her reaction speed and brain power are. Brian raised his arms to block in front of him, because Bing Lihuan's mental storm was already sweeping towards them. Boom! Like a strong wind, the fragments of telekinesis were like countless sharp pieces of broken glass, rushing towards Brian's body. This ability is almost unaffected by gravity, because it has no mass. Unless Brian can create black hole-level gravitational force, there is no good way to deal with it. Fortunately, it has thick skin and flesh, and Professor Da Vinci injected it with cell-enhancing regeneration drugs. This kind of impact will only hurt a little, but it is not fatal.
Puff. Puff.
Countless fragments of telekinesis passed through Brian's body, and soon the child's face and body were covered with scars, and the blood turned him into a red Labrador. Currently, only the front half is red, and the back is still white. Woof, 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 woof. Brian's eyes were bloodshot from the pain. He cursed Professor Da Vinci in his heart for not treating him as a human being, and he hated the woman who hurt him. So it pointed its 4 claws to the ground and pounced towards Bing Lihuan at crazy speed. Bing Lihuan's eyes narrowed. You've come just in time. She once again condensed a storm of telekinesis and was about to attack Brian. No matter how strong the defense is, it has its limits. A blunt knife kills slowly, but it will eventually kill the opponent. But suddenly, Brian changed direction in midair. He no longer ran straight towards Bing Lihuan, but began to run in an arc trajectory. It was running in an irregular arc without any track at all. Bing Lihuan frowned, and after a little thought in her mind, she figured out Brian's purpose. You want to move in an irregular manner, making it impossible for me to predict your trajectory, and then get close to me? Bing Lihuan curled up the corner of her mouth in a sneer, thinking that Brian's behavior was ridiculous. With me, we'll try to get you more updates. Please like and subscribe and share the video with your friends. Love you all.